Hey there, my name is Erin. Welcome to the Natural News. Super excited to have y'all on today. Have a few fun topics for us to talk about that are trendy, some things that you might be doing in your own day to day life. I would love to hear all things on if it's something you're implementing in your life, if it's something you think is good, bad, we'll discuss it all together. Please drop a comment on where you are tuning in from. It's a beautiful day in North Carolina here, so super excited to be here with you all. We can dive in right away. I think it's pretty known to all of us that there's always a new wellness trend kind of getting people fired up. And some of them are generally interesting and super helpful. I think a lot of them also can be overhyped. And that's why we want to talk about them today. For this week, I want to break down 5 nice wellness topics that are all the buzz right now and give a little bit more context to why they're trending. As always, this is for education and conversation, not personal medical advice. So always talk to your doctor if you have specific questions. The first one I want to talk about, which I think is buzzing everywhere, is an animal based diet. This one's definitely having a major moment again, whether it's the carnivore diet, just focusing on animal based, or high protein everything. We did talk a little bit more about high protein in a previous episode, so you can go check those out. But when it comes to animal based diet, these are focusing on solely eating animal proteins very strictly with the carnivore diet, or adding in a few things like fruits and honey and things like that for your animal-based diet. And I think a big part of why this is picking up because people are getting so frustrated with their ultra processed food. It's leaving them with unstable energy, constant cravings, and it can just get really confusing on what they should be eating and what they shouldn't be eating. So I think a lot of people are moving toward a more simple framework. And this one is really easy. Meat, eggs, dairy, fruit are going to be a big portion of your plate, if not your entire plate altogether. So I think simplicity is really the appeal here. There's also a broader protein push happening at the same time, which gives this trend even more momentum. According to a 2024 study or survey by Food and Health, 54% of Americans said they were seeing food and nutrition content pop up on social media, and up to 42% of those were a protein based meal happening right now. 1 in 3 Americans said that they've increased their protein intake over the past year. So that doesn't necessarily mean everybody's taking more of this animal based or carnivore approach, but people are just trying to add it more into their diet on a day to day basis. It's something I'm also more tracking on my end too, looking where my protein's coming from. If I'm not getting enough, maybe I add that in either as a snack or just trying to bulk up the protein in my meals as much as possible. And just because something is trending doesn't not necessarily mean that it is complete. So just because somebody is feeling better, eating more protein and fewer processed foods, doesn't mean we need to go completely diving into this trend. I think people are wanting simpler nutrition. I think they want to feel fuller. They want to have steadier energy. I think more protein is going to add that in. I personally have never tried a full carnivore diet. Definitely try to aim for more whole foods and more of that animal-based diet on a day-to-day, but there are plenty of creators out there who are diving full force into the carnivore diet. If that's something you are interested in, I would look those up. I know Carnivore Ray is a great one who's done it for several years, many different times. So I do have some resources for you. I will pop those in the description after, but let me throw one here in the chat for you as well, so you can take a look at that. The second one is something that I feel like isn't something that I thought about until reading about it this week, is breakfast making a comeback. For a while, I feel like everybody was talking about skip your breakfast, drink coffee, fasting as long as possible. And now I think the conversation is getting a little bit more deep into, are we actually feeling better when we are skipping breakfast and doing that intermittent fasting that was so popular for so long? So most people are asking whether they should eat earlier in the day or they should wait. Eating earlier in the day might actually support blood sugar, energy, metabolism for a lot of people. And I think that makes sense because even though fasting can be really useful in the right context, I think a lot of people took it into an all or nothing wellness rule, meaning they have to do it every single day, especially with that intermittent fasting, to be successful. And I don't think it's that simple. I think some people do better with an overnight fast. And when they get up, they eat their breakfast as long as it's balanced with protein, fiber, and healthy fats. It's going to support them better than just powering through with coffee alone. And I think this is why breakfast is making a comeback. What's interesting is most adults never really fell behind. The CDC found that 84.4% of US adults actually eat breakfast on a given day. At the same time, among high school students, 72.6 missed breakfast at least once in the past week, 17.9 skipped it every day. So I think the newer conversation is less about following old breakfast rules and more about asking better questions. Are we feeling steady? Are we crashing later? Are we skipping food and then overeating when we do finally hit that part of our day where we feel like we can eat? And are you really relying on coffee the whole morning? I think for a lot of us, I'm finding that I actually feel better when I have breakfast. I'm feeling more stable. I'm not having my crashes. So if you think that your intermittent fasting is maybe harming you in certain ways, I would definitely try adding breakfast in, especially high protein. And if you find that you're binging on later in the day, definitely add breakfast in and just see how you feel. It doesn't need to be for a long term. I'll get some resources added in here as well. I got one in the chat for you, but I'll add it to the description bar after this live so you can go and read a little bit more on why breakfast is maybe never stop being a trend, but why it's trending now. And so number 3 is going to be about raw milk. Is this a superfood or a safety concern? Raw milk might be one of the most polarizing wellness topics online right now. I think on one side, you have a lot of people saying that it's a nutrient dense traditional food and something that you should be adding in every day. On the other side, you have doctors and public health experts raising concerns on contamination, foodborne illnesses, and safety risks. And I think this is why this conversation keeps growing. It kind of hits that wellness culture, food freedom, traditional living, and health fear all at once. And I think this one is going to be a huge debate for a while. What is interesting, it's not just about the food itself, but really how emotional this conversation has become. People are not just arguing about milk, they're arguing about trust, the food system, trust in regulation, trust in experts, and really just trust in their own personal choice. So that does not mean that the safety concern should necessarily be avoided. From 1998 through 2018, the CDC did document 202 outbursts linked to raw milk and some illnesses from there. But it doesn't mean that raw milk is automatically reckless. I think finding it from a great source is going to be the first step if you want to try raw milk. I'm not saying either one is good or bad. If it's something you're interested in, certainly do all your research and find a local source. I think your farmer's market might have something or local health food stands, but this one, again, is really going to be on personal choice. I do have a few resources for you to read about here. I would love to hear if raw milk is something that you have added into your routine. I personally not. I don't drink a lot of cow's milk in general. Sometimes I'll make like a protein drink with whole milk. I like to keep whole milk, all of those fats in there when I can. But I would love to hear your opinions on raw milk, if it's something you have added in or not. Perfect. So our number 4 topic today is going to be something you are hearing everywhere. It is something I have talked about for years on why it's so important, but it's going to be vitamin D deficiency. Is it actually more common than people think? Vitamin D is one of those nutrients that almost everybody has heard of, and a lot of people estimate how common low levels really are. And that's one of the reasons that this topic keeps coming around, especially once we hit fall, winter time. People usually think vitamin D as a bone health nutrient, but it also is coming up in conversations around immunity, mood, energy, and just overall resilience of your entire body. What makes this topic so interesting is that deficiency can show up in so many places with plenty of sunlight. So that might sound surprising. If you're living in Florida, getting outside every day, you still could have a deficiency in vitamin D. The best thing here is to get your levels checked just to find out where you're at. There are plenty of supplements out there. I recommend supplementing with a vitamin D plus K2. Those pair very well together. We can talk all about that in a different episode, but we have those on thenatural.com. So if you're looking for a great vitamin D supplement, drop a comment, let me know. Certainly can help you out with finding the one that is right for you. So people say that they are generally tired, run down, low energy, and just not feeling great. Vitamin D is actually one of the first things that tends to come up, not because it explains everything, but because it is common enough and worth paying attention to. The US data found that 5% of people were at risk of vitamin D deficiency, and another 18.3 were at risk of inadequacy. In adults ages 20 to 39, the deficiency risk was even higher at 7.6%. And I think that's why this conversation keeps getting traction and why it really matters. I think first step, if you feel like you are feeling some of these symptoms, go get your blood levels checked. Vitamin D is an easy blood test that they can take, and you can just make sure you are in a healthy range. If you are not, making sure you are supplementing with that vitamin D3 plus K2. Going to be a great start for you. Like I said, we have a ton of those on thenatural.com. I can help you find a recommendation that fits you best. I do have some resources that'll pop into the chat as well. They'll also be in the description bar after this episode. And our last and final topic of today is the rise of protein coffee. Protein coffee is everywhere right now, and I understand why. It takes two really great wellness obsessions, our protein content and our coffee, and it puts them together. And for a lot of people, it is efficient. They want energy and they want convenience and they want to make breakfast and have that morning support. So they bring those two together. That is the appeal. You are seeing more packaged products, more cafes, and more wellness brands really jump on this trend because that's where the market is going. An IFIC survey, 1 in 3 Americans said that they increased their protein intake in the past year, and 8 in 10 said they prioritize protein during at least one eating occasion a day. And add that to coffee staying power, 67 of Americans, adults, drank coffee in the past day. So a lot of us are drinking coffee. A lot of us want to get our protein in. Add those together can make a super simple breakfast hack for a lot of people. So whether protein coffee is actually helpful depends on a bigger picture. If someone is under eating in protein, they're skipping breakfast, and they're constantly running on caffeine, then yes, adding protein to your morning may be a super smart move than just drinking that plain old coffee. But if it turns into another trendy product people are just using to build balanced meals, then I think it can get overhyped really fast. I think this trend is really interesting because it really does reflect what a lot of people are looking for right now. Convenience, they're wanting to be satisfied, better energy, and a simple way to support their health. And I think this one is just like we talked about before. It's really simple. Adding a scoop of protein into your coffee every single morning, if you're already going to be drinking it anyway, is just another way to boost that protein count. So make sure you're getting protein from a clean source. They do have some flavors you can add in to kind of jazz up your coffee. Maybe then you can skip the creamer. If you get a vanilla protein powder, then you're not having to add the cream or any dairy if that's sensitive on your stomach. So a lot of great ways we can make this one work. Again, I have some links and some resources for you to take a look at that you can find in the chat. And that is our fifth and final topic. So super happy y'all joined me today here. I think we covered a lot of fun topics. I think protein is one of those things that is going to keep coming to our conversations week after week, because a lot of people know it's going to make them feel better and they want simple ways to add it in. I want to make sure that everybody is adding that in with a healthy fiber and a healthy fat choice. There are plenty of options out there. I try to add in avocado or butter, healthy oils when I can. So if you have any questions about any of the topics today, please drop a comment. I'd love to help you out. If you have any questions, you're looking for meal ideas, some daily, monthly challenges, we have that all going on in the Natural Wellness Collective. That is our group. I'm over there each and every day answering health questions, providing recipe ideas, and all that fun stuff. So the link is in the description. You can jump over to the Natural Wellness Collective. You also have the opportunity to ask questions there as well. And that is in a little bit smaller, more intimate group if you feel more comfortable with that. But thank you so much for joining me. I will see you on Thursday for some more natural news.